Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Some of the most meaningful jewelry you own isn't new. It's inherited. A ring from a grandmother, a necklace full of memories, but no longer your style. Duke's Jewelers reimagines family heirlooms into custom pieces you'll actually wear and love. Working one-on-one, Duke's designers honor the original story while creating something fresh and modern. Don't let meaningful jewelry sit unused. Let it live on beautifully. Visit Duke's Jewelers in Springville or online at dukesjewelers.com, where old stories become new treasures.
Believe it or not, this guy actually has friends.
Nice.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, kicking off your 1 o'clock hour, new sheriff in town at Utah State University, Ben Jacobson, replacing Jared Calhoun as the new coach. Joining us now, the athletic director who pulled the trigger on it and went through the entire process, Cameron Walker, kind enough to join us. Cam, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm better today.
Yes.
I'm better today, Scotty.
Than last week at this time. All right.
Yes.
So you told me that you weren't going to disclose the timeline, but you said there was a timeline. Did you meet your deadline?
I did. It was tomorrow.
Nice.
I got it.
You got it. Hey, I know urgency was important. Let's get to the root of it. What was it about Ben Jacobson that elevated him over other candidates?
Yeah, when you look at what he's accomplished and what he's done in his career, I think it was hard for us to picture getting where we want to go without someone that's been there before. And I think his accomplishments, his resume, and then you add to it, every person you talk to says exceptional coach, even better human being. It just kind of snowballed. And when you get in a room with him, I remember talking to another coach, but I got in a room with him and said, he's not telling you what you want to hear. He's telling you exactly what he believes. And Greg McDermott and I even had this conversation. I said, I'm not sure he's capable of telling me what I want to hear. And he said, he's not. He's just a straight shooter. He's going to tell you exactly what he thinks. And then, honestly, our vision, without me even expressing my vision, his vision for what he thought Utah State athletics could be and should be was exactly what we've been saying. And when those match up and you get a great human being to do the work with, sky's the limit, and we're super excited.
What is that vision that the two of you share?
I think it's about elevating the program. The second weekend's a big part of it. And also chasing down in the new Pac-12 the leaders, and those that'll have more resources. Certainly Gonzaga has done a tremendous job. And, in league meetings, I've been conscientious to say we don't want to pull Gonzaga back to the rest of us. We want to elevate our programs so that we're at their level, not try and pull them back. And I think that's what we want to do. They've got a tremendous model, so it's only out of respect for what they've done, but we want to catch them. We want to be a program like that. And in order to do that, I think we need, like I said, someone who's been there, but also some sustainability. I think it's just difficult if we go through this 1 to 2 year cycle to really build the momentum we need. We can be competitive. We can make the tournament every year, but it's hard to have that next level of success.
So I think that's interesting because that's the paradigm has shifted a little bit in terms of surviving at Utah State and now excelling at Utah State, because it's felt like for so many years a coach leaves and then it was like, okay, let's just find somebody to kind of hold on and keep it where we're at. You're looking at it like, okay, we've done this. Now it's time to elevate to this.
Absolutely. And, when I look at coaches that are where we want to be, Sweet 16, Elite Eights, And the coaches, as I looked around at the coaches in the Sweet 16, they're very experienced coaches. They've done a lot. They've got long resumes. They've been there, and they've got some battle scars. And Coach Jacobson has those. But we're not satisfied being an NCAA tournament team or an NCAA tournament participant. We want to chase it. And if you're not getting better and you're not trying to improve, it makes it, I don't know. That's what gets me up in the morning, and I can tell that's what gets Coach Jacobson up in the morning, and I think that's why he's a great fit.
To pry a guy away from a university where he's been at for over 2 decades and has had tremendous success, that's not easy to do. What was it about Utah State that made him decide? Because he's had opportunities in the past, but made him finally decide, okay, this is the program I want to leave to.
Yeah, he has had plenty of opportunities in the past. He's turned down some big time Power 4 jobs, and I think, it was our alignment and vision. I think it was how we're resourcing this program. And it was his belief in us that he can chase those championships. I mean, he's not trying to make it back to the Sweet 16. He's got bigger thoughts than that. There's some scars that he has from just missing out on that next level. And he wants to get there. And he feels like this is a place where he can do it and really chase that success. And then certainly we wanted to convince him, and there's a lot of things positive here from the momentum of the school, the alignment between our board and our president and me. And I think those things were all enticing.
Cameron Walker, athletic director at Utah State, on the job for less than 6 months, and you got to make probably one of the most important hires in athletic department history. Yeah. No pressure there.
It comes at you quick. Yeah, no pressure. That's Stu Morrill and I talked, and that's basically what he said to me. We talked last week. I believe in getting that visit with the student athletes, got their thoughts. Called Stu, and Stu's advice was simple: don't screw it up. That's obviously what we're trying to do, but it's a pressure thing, and you feel the weight of it, and you want to get it right, and you want everybody to embrace it, but at the same time, getting it right for these student athletes is even more important than the rest of it, and so. As we sat down with all of our candidates, you're really viewing it from the lens of, will these guys, will Mason Falsub, will Carson Templin, will Jordy Barnes, all of them, right? Will they like this coach? Can I see them relating? How would they respond to this? And you try and view it for that lens and get the best coach for your student athletes because they're going to spend a lot of time together.
It's interesting you bring that up because when you're hiring, maybe 15 years ago, or even frankly, probably 5 years ago, when you hire a coach, you're thinking, okay, who's the best coach for my program? But then but now it's an element of, well, who are they going to bring with them? How are they in fundraising? How are our current players going to relate to them? There's so many other little things that come into play now because of NIL and free transfers and all those other things. How hard is it to kind of clear through all of that? Or I guess how much importance do you put on that as opposed to, can the guy just flat out coach?
Yeah, I think for me, it's twofold. And because there's so many elements, I think it's helped me zero in the last few years as I've been a part of hires on what's the most important thing. And to me, it's will the student athletes have an unbelievable experience with the individual? Will he make them better? Will he make in this case, can he make them men and chase championships? And then can he flat out coach? And it's hard to check both those boxes. But this guy checks both those boxes. And I think it's just important as you go through that. There is so many things, but you have to keep the most important things, the main thing in the top of your priority.
Cameron Walker, athletic director at Utah State, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. What has been the conversations throughout the process? You mentioned that you met with the team as soon as Jared Calhoun made it official. He was on to Cincinnati. But What have those continued conversations been like? And has Coach Jacobson had a chance to chat with those guys yet?
Yeah, so Coach Jacobson had a chance to get with the guys on Zoom. I'm sure he's making some calls. We're also setting up some meetings and some stuff tomorrow after the press conference with them. And then really I've stayed in touch with 2 or 3 of them as much as they want to. A bunch of them have texted me and called me throughout the process just to stay connected. And I update them and I tell them exactly where we're at. And I don't talk candidate names with them because I don't think that's fair to put them in that spot. But I talked to them about the attributes and the interest and the type of candidates that we're looking at and quality of them. And I think that's been important through the process to just stay connected with them, again, as much as they want to be. Some of them haven't wanted to, and they're like, I need some space right now to do some thinking. And that's great too. It's at whatever level they want to engage. But certainly some of them have engaged heavily, and it's certainly been on our mind as we've gone through this process.
There's a lot of conversations and Freedom of Information Acts in terms of contracts and things like that. There is a buyout courtesy of Jared Calhoun that would provide a bit of influx of resources available to you. How do you go about earmarking those? And is that a conversation with Ben in terms of NIL, or is that with Dalton on staff, or how do you determine how to immediately address the transfer portal, which will begin here in a couple of days?
Yeah, and that timing was important. Why to get this done this week? We're a week, basically next Tuesday, that portal opens up. Obviously, I've said time and time again, talent acquisition and retention is the most important thing. And in this case, twofold, on the coaching staff and head coach, as well as on the player side. So certainly, we obviously probably not going to throw all that in 1 year, space it out a little bit, but we will use that money certainly in that space to elevate this program.
So when you look at Ben Jacobson and how he's adapted to this new world, there's a lot of, and I don't want to call it, there's a lot of grizzled veterans, I guess we should say, that have been around the league or been around college basketball and college athletics for a long time that have had a hard time adapting to this new world. How do you feel like he has done in that area?
I think he's done really well. And given the resources he's had and kind of the hand he had, I think it's been incredible. He was there's been some complaints here about, our resources and how much we have and things of that nature. And certainly we're trying to build that and increase that as much as we can. I think this next year will, obviously be at a very competitive level. But for that cards he kind of had in his hand, I think he's played that really, really well. They're either their leading scorer or second leading scorer this past year was a transfer kid. He's done well getting the right kids and making sure that those are the right fit too. And I think that's important. And we've seen that. I thought Coach Calhoun did a terrific job with that as well, going to the portal for some of those needs and getting the right kid that can help you on the court, but also the right fit. And I think Ben understands both those and has been highly successful at doing that at Northern Iowa.
All right, so I'm going to steal a line from the first line you're going to issue tomorrow at your press conference because every AD says it, but sometimes it's true and sometimes it may not be true. How impressed were you with the level of candidates that wanted this job?
Very impressed. So yeah, I'll try and state it more eloquently than that tomorrow. But the pool was incredibly deep. It was tons and tons of interest. We have a lot of people that candidly could do this job. There were a lot of people that you could envision being successful. That's great news. On the search side, it makes it very difficult to then say, okay, but who would be the very best? But I mean, high level of coaches that have accomplished a lot of things, whether it's, Final Fours, whether it's, assistant coaches at Final Fours, lots of high-level stuff that they've accomplished and done, and throughout the entire country. I think it speaks to that we're able to land somebody with a resume and as accomplished as Coach Jacobson, that this program has elevated. It's not the same program that we used to, and we can get people that are very established head coaches to be very interested in positions at Utah State.
I had a assistant coach that I've known for a long time at a P4 school reach out and said, I don't think I can get a sniff at this thing. And he goes, if I were at where I was at 6-7 years ago, I think I would have had a really good chance. But now, I really don't think I've got any kind of chance whatsoever, just based on the quality of people that I know are going after this gig. When you cast a net, were there tangible, specific things that you wanted to see, like head coaches, current head coaches, like initial, amount of 20-plus wins? Was there a number, tangible numbers that you wanted to see in regards to whoever you're going to go after? Or was it just, let's go see what's out there?
I try and stay pretty open-minded early on. But then you kind of narrow as you go through the process, as you kind of see what's there. And you're able to get a few people into the pool that are really good, and now you kind of have a baseline of they got to measure up to this.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where Ben was I'm talking to people, I know he's in the pool. It's that guy's fantastic, but he's not Ben Jacobson, right? And so you're able to just kind of keep plugging through that. And after a while, you're like, well, it kind of sounds like we just need to go with this guy. And I think that was kind of the case here. But we were open to the idea that it could be a lead assistant at a Power 4. It could be a thing. But as we got through this, as we got through the list of qualities the team gave us, it just became apparent that that head coach experience was probably going to be really important, and that, somebody with the character like Coach Jacobson's known for was going to be a really, really good fit. His toughness, his discipline, his style of play all mesh really well with our guys. And you throw in how successful he's been at a place with, a fraction of our resources. It's exciting to see what he'll do once he gets here.
Have you heard from the head coach of Colorado State in terms of your hire?
I have not heard from him yet. But they know each other very well.
Oh, yeah. That was the guy that hit the shot when Northern Iowa went to the Sweet 16 with their win over Kansas in the NCAA tournament. And that's the thing. That's what's been really cool about watching this is, the success that he's been around and what he's been able to establish. Is there any conversation? And when I say this, I don't have any ulterior motives because, frankly, look, I'm on my, I think I told you last week that I've been doing this job for 10 years as the play-by-play guy. This will be my 6th basketball coach. And frankly, as long as they're all good dudes and they're easy to interview and they go to the NCAA tournaments, I don't care about the turnstile. But was that something that was on your mind at all in the interview process? Something that where you wanted to say, hey, you know what? We really want a guy that could put some roots down.
Yeah, certainly. Because I think if you look at who's in the Sweet 16, right? Getting to that next level, that most of those, if not all of them this year, are established and been there a while. And I think there's something about being able to take a team like we had this and retool it just a little bit and run it back. And I think there's something from a perception from the committee. I think that's how you get higher seeds, is putting together back-to-back good years, 3-4. And they really value winning in the tournament. And so when you can win a game like we did this year, and then next year come back and do it, you've got a shot. And there's, again, those scars that come with that. I do think that to get where we want to go, we've got to have some level of continuity. To do what we've done, it probably works to run it back, bring in a new, the next successful young coach that's an up-and-comer. That probably works. But if they're gone in 2 years, we're having the same conversation, and we've been to 2 tournaments maybe, or made 1 tournament, but we're not progressing the program the way we need to. And so certainly that was an element here.
It's interesting, and ironically enough, it was Jared Calhoun who told me this, that sometimes coaching fatigue can impact fundraising, in which somebody out there that you need to try to get some funds from is like, well, I don't know who I'm going to be working with every year, and I don't really want to commit because I just can't really develop a relationship with a coach. And have you noticed that as being a bit of a problem?
Yeah, I think that's real. I think fortunately, the donors that I've spoken to, both pre this and post this, have reiterated our commitments to Utah State in this program. We are locked in on this program. So I'm incredibly grateful to those for their enduring. But I do think it helps when they have certainty. They're investing, right? They're investors. They're shareholders. They're sharing in this vision and investing their hard-earned money to help us accomplish the vision that we're trying to attack. And when that vision's changing every couple of years, that's really difficult to grab hold of and to really sink your teeth into. And so I do think that it helps when there's a sustained approach, both in the success, but also in the generation of funds to support that cause.
Cameron Walker right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I know you probably have anybody, you can't fill up a tank of gas at Maverick or go to the grocery store without somebody saying, hey, have you seen this coach? Hey, do you know anything about this coach? You probably even had media schlubs that were texting you ideas on who you could go after. So with all of that, how do you drown out that noise? Because you want input, you want insight, and some of it could probably be good, and some of it's like you just toss it away. But ultimately know that it's your hire and your name's attached to it. How difficult is it to kind of crowd out the noise a bit?
It can be hard, yeah. And there's lots of ideas and lots of things, and you have to let people know that it's not a disrespecting. It's not it's not anything other than how seriously you take this responsibility and your conversations that you personally have with the student athletes and with the key constituents, and knowing, okay, I hope I have a bigger picture than those that are at Maverick filling up their gas with me. And because I know some things they don't know, that they're well-intended. The worst thing's apathy. No one cares who I'm hiring. That's terrible. But so the interest is great. And early on, I welcome it. I welcome it. I try and get as much data and as much input as points. But there becomes a point in a search where you kind of have to lock down. I kind of have to lock myself in a place and lock the team up and say, all right, let's put everything away. Let's go to work. And we got to find the best person, because these student athletes really matter and Utah State basketball really matters. And as much as people will agree or disagree or anything with a hire, like that responsibility to get it right weighs heavy. And you have to kind of set aside feelings or people pleasing to get it done. But it's hard because a lot of those people are truly care about the program as much as you do. But you just try and all you can do is do your very best job and lock in. But there comes a point where you have to kind of, okay, I've collected enough data and enough opinions. I got to lock in.
All right, before I let you go, I know I keep you way too long. I apologize. But social media sometimes gets buzzing, and I don't know how much you are on social media in this process, but all of a sudden a name will get thrown out, and then it just starts snowballing, and then pretty soon it's all but done that this will be the next head coach at your university. I was seeing stuff kick up last night. I looked over at my wife and I said, I bet he's having some fun with this because the names that were being thrown out weren't the ones he ultimately got going. So what's that like when all of a sudden your phone starts blowing up and people are like, hey, is this the guy? And you're like, no, it's not the guy. Like, how's that from your perspective?
It's interesting, and it's kind of a balance. It certainly was interesting. I don't know how those get started. And some of it, like sometimes sometimes you're like, oh, we talked, or oh, that, yeah, I get how that got going. Some of these this time I had no idea how they got started. There were certainly some that were rumored that we never talked to. And again, nothing against them. Tremendous coaches. They probably would have been great in the search, but like that's not where the search went, and that's not who we talked to. But it definitely is interesting. And I'm not sure I've seen them where they got as far along. Normally they get shot down sooner, but yeah, I almost made a hire I wasn't aware of.
Well, hey, we appreciate your time, man. Thanks for joining us. Look forward. We'll be up there tomorrow at 9 a.m., and we'll carry the press conference live here on The Zone. But congratulations. I know this was it may have been a quick hire, but certainly it wasn't a less work-intensive hire. So we appreciate it, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Awesome. No, I look forward to it. We'll see you tomorrow, Scotty.
You got it. There he is, Cameron Walker, athletic director at Utah State. All right, so there you go. Mark Madsen was not going to be the guy. Sorry.
Huh.
Yeah, I like how he just said, like, I almost hired a guy that I never even talked to. All right.
Funny how that works.
The man himself, Jay Stevens, joins us next right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Did you know fluoride is not available in Utah water systems, and fluoride supplements work best from 6 months to 16 years old? A healthy smile isn't just about teeth, it's about health and confidence. Your smile matters. Find resources at yoursmileutah.org.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope. She bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Down to Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, we said we're going to give Jay Stevens a little bit of a rest. We're going to let him just chill. It's a road trip. We're going to let him relax a little bit. We're not going to get him on the air. We've abused that privilege way too much. And then, bam, just like that, Mammoth go and put the Kings in a chokehold and ended up winning that game, going away. And we're like, all right, we got to get Jay back. Jay, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here. Don't ever give me a rest. I love talking hockey.
Yeah, you could look. You can be you can be between the pipes with us anytime. We love it. We appreciate it. All right, so
I appreciate it too.
So that was an old-fashioned butt kicking. How impressed were you with that?
Yeah, I not just the score, but the creativity and the absolute offensive brilliance that the Mammoth were showing that night was just so much fun to watch. I mean, we've been talking about it all year, how this offense is just built to be fast and high flying and super creative. And man, it was just on display against the Kings team that's been fighting for a playoff spot. And it really looked like they'd righted their ship and were going to be a real challenge. It was, the Mammoth were not favored going into that game. So to see them come out and explode like that, and to see those 2 goals that Cooley put in, just phenomenal.
So you're right. This wasn't a game against a team that was just kind of getting ready for their trip to Cancun and ready to shut it down. This is a team that was highly motivated to play and play well, and to do that on their home ice, it makes it even the more impressive.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, a lot of people just figured the Kings were going to take this one. I think even a lot of Mammoth fans were giving up on the team a little bit based on, what happened with Washington and with Edmonton. So I think it was pretty cool to watch that huge explosion. And that, I mean, the creativity, I just was at the practice facility and I was going to go in and ask Sergachev or Cooley, because, I'm at a lot of the practices and I've never seen him do that. So basically an icing, it's the hybrid icing where Cooley zipped into that puck that it looked for all intents and purposes like Sergey had iced it, and Cooley skated right into it, nullified the icing, and just put that in. I wanted to ask, like, is that something they worked on, or did it just work out that way? Because, man, it was just so pretty, and it obviously caught LA way off guard.
So you go up 3-1, but you also had a 3-1 lead against the Capitals, and we all know how that ended with Ovechkin going nuts. So to see them say, okay, 3-1, guess what? We're going to extend it. And I think it was 5-1 after the second period. What does that say about this team that like, no, we're not letting that happen again?
Well, one, it says they're learning from their mistakes, right? And there were a couple opportunities for maybe some more physical play or for some fights or something like that with LA. You could tell LA was trying to do something to get their team back into it. And the Mammoth didn't fall for it. And they weren't going to, extend the courtesy of a fight or even getting into too much of the rough stuff and give LA a chance to get back into it, or, more likely take the Mammoth out of it. It's showing some progression. It's showing some maturity. It's showing that the coaching staff really is getting through and making those changes and making those adjustments, because with what happened in Washington, that kind of exposed to the rest of the NHL that maybe there is a button you can push with Utah and find a weakness with them and throw them off their game. All you got to do is, bang them around a little bit, drop the gloves with a couple of them and get the hive mad. And they kind of go with that hive mentality, but instead you saw more of a maturity. You saw they didn't take the bait. So I think it speaks volumes that, it may just be game to game, but they're learning, and I think they're really starting to get prepared for playoff hockey.
You mentioned that you would like to see bare minimum 4 points coming off this 3-game road trip. We kind of anticipated 2 would come against Vancouver, but now you got 2 already on this trip. Now it's time to get greedy, right?
Yeah, I mean, take all you can get. It's a scary situation when you keep looking at those standings. It was nice that Nashville lost the other night. It's nice to have a little bit of a gap, but you when you take a second and you look at the rest of the team's schedules, they also have the teams that are chasing Utah have pretty reasonable schedules coming up. So, like I mentioned, LA is playing Vancouver 3 times. So that could give LA a little bit of a push. Seattle's coming up, but the good thing is Utah plays Seattle, then Utah goes to Vancouver, and then Utah actually plays Nashville next week at home too. So there's chances for Utah to take care of their own business and clean up their own yard, as you want to say, and they're in the driver's seat. So as long as they win, and yeah, we wanted 4 points. I just can't. I can't see them losing to Seattle or Vancouver.
Really?
On the road. I just can't. Like, Seattle's been struggling. Vancouver's been struggling for 10 straight years.
Yeah.
and it's terrible. It's just the weirdest thing up there. They get these amazing goaltenders, and then like with Thatcher Demko, and he cannot stay healthy. And that's happened with a bunch of their goalies that they've had. They get up there, for some reason something happens, and they just can't keep their starting goalie healthy. So Vancouver's doing what Vancouver does. Seattle had lost 5 straight last I checked, maybe 4 straight. And so with Utah kind of looking like they're starting to peak, if they play like they played in LA, they go into Seattle and Vancouver with that same game, I think that's 4 more points.
Well, I mean, to come out of this 3-game road trip with 6 points would be just absolutely a boon to this team, especially coming off that loss. Is it hard? And, I don't know, have you ever watched, what's the show, the soccer coach, Ted Lasso?
Ted Lasso, yeah.
Is it, he makes a joke about having the mind of a goldfish, where you just forget it. And is that hard to do as a player, or is it kind of easy when the games come at you so quickly?
Um, Man, it's both. And as a goaltender, that's always had to be your mindset is that it doesn't matter what you just did. I'll use one of Bill Armstrong's quotes is that, the rent is high in the NHL and it's due every day. It's the same thing where like you just have to have the mentality that I just did this and I know I can keep going. I know I can be better. And if like for a goaltender, if you give up a weird one, and we saw Veggie give up a really weird one against LA, not the other night, but the last time
Yeah.
they'd played, he gave up a weird one off the boards. And yeah, you have to just say that was a fluke. That's not who I am. The team has to have that same mindset too. With 82 games next season, it's going to be 84 games. With 82 games, you got to be like, I know I'm not going to be at my best every night, and that's why there's backup goalies, right? Rest, and also sometimes you're not at your best, and that goes for every player. Yeah, you're not going to be your best every night, but you learn from those losses, you learn from the mistakes you made, but you let the rest of it slide away. So yeah, you've got to forget the bad stuff, remember the good stuff, and like good coaches always say, we either win or we learn.
Yeah.
And that's a hockey player's mentality. They take everything they can from the losses just to make themselves better.
So in a season, considering the Olympic break, they've jammed in as many games as they can in kind of a short amount of time. So you don't get a lot of rest, but to be able to go from Sunday to Thursday and have a little bit of a break, how important is it for this team at this point in the year?
Yeah, perfect timing, right? They've got what, three road games and 4 home games left, and they get this nice little break to get everybody healthy. At the skate this morning, I was kind of surprised because I thought maybe with load management and just having this time off, maybe they'd give Veggie the day off. But man, I got there, he was the first guy on the ice. Him and Vanacek went out for they did a half hour of goalie drills before the practice started. The only player not dressed today was Gunther. Everybody else was out there playing hard, and they had a really good spirited practice. And and they were really working on some just minor details. But I mean, Bear was stopping them and making them go over the details. And so I think this break comes at a perfect time. Let's fix these little things that have cost us, cost goals for the Utah Mammoth, and then just take the rest of the day off. And I wouldn't be surprised if they made one of the next practices optional. But again, it's these guys are hungry, they're having fun, and they know what they're chasing, and they want to work on those details. Even when practice was over, a lot of the guys stayed on the ice and worked on little skill things. And there were a bunch of guys off on shooting with the goalies and working on skills. So the time off is great, but the Mammoth are not taking it lightly.
All right. So I asked Lloyd this earlier. If you had a kid that you were buying a jersey for, so your son is like, I've got a 14-year-old son, Lloyd's got an 11, where they're just all in on the hockey right now, and you want to buy him a jersey, but you want to teach your kid not to be a front runner, right? You're like, okay, you know what? Dig a little deeper, find somebody on the team. Don't necessarily go your superstars, but find somebody that you can latch onto, like the glue guy or the guy that you really want them to emulate. So eliminating the superstars on this team, if you were to buy a jersey for your kid with that criteria, who would you go with?
Carcone.
Ah, nice.
You want to talk about a guy that's not a top 6 guy who, like, I mean, I've preached his story all year because, he didn't get to play a lot last year. It was frustrating for him. He had done everything he had to do in the AHL to earn a spot in the NHL. He was the AHL leading scorer the year before he got pulled up. And to be left out like that, to be super frustrated, he said it with grace that, hey, I'm not going to be here next year. And then he went back home, did some growing up, had a good meeting with Bill Armstrong, got re-signed, and has just come in with the work ethic and the tenacity on the ice. He doesn't give up on plays. He goes in the corners and fights for pucks. He does everything you ask for. So if I'm gonna buy my kid a jersey, I've been saying Lawson Krause all year. He's been one of my favorite players, but he's a top 6 guy.
Yeah.
So if you want to go outside of the top 6, I think it's Carcone hands down, and I think he's going to get the player awards when they give like the We used to call it the Little Plugger Award. A lot of, and Trevor Lewis won it a ton of times for just like the Unsung Hero Award. I think you have to give it to Carconi.
I love it. Well, Jay, appreciate it, man. If they this is a tradition. If they beat Seattle, we're gonna have you on Friday. Okay.
Sounds good. I'll be there.
Let's go. There he is, Jay Stevens, host of the Utah Puck Report. He is the guy that has educated all of us on the great sport of hockey. He's forgotten more about hockey than any of us will ever know, and he's an overall good dude. And he'll pull you out of a fire and save your house at the same time, too. Not a lot. Look, hockey player, firefighter, that's a man's man right there. All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up a little bit later on, we'll chat with Mitch Harper, get his thoughts on what's going down at BYU. Spring ball in action. We'll recap the NCAA tournament, what we're looking ahead to at the Final Four. It's all right here on The Zone.
Hey, I'm Josh Spiegel, host of the podcast Lunatic in the Newsroom. If you enjoy journalism that drifts into mild panic, wild overthinking, and a guaranteed nervous breakdown, Lunatic in the Newsroom is for you. It's news like you've never heard before. The only newsroom with a panic button. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and gasp in horror as the show spirals completely out of control. It's not just news, it's emotionally unstable. Lunatic in the Newsroom. Listen today.
Did you know dental pain is the top reason children miss school? Dental disease in children is almost entirely preventable. Good habits start early with brushing, regular dental visits, and fluoride protection. Your smile matters. Find resources at yoursmileutah.org.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope. She bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
Do you love rom-coms? Do you wish you could talk about Christmas movies year-round? Then we have the perfect podcast for you, Hallmarkies Podcast. Throughout the year, we cover all things romance, holiday, and Hallmark, including recaps of every Hallmark show, like When Calls the Heart and The Way Home. You can also get loads of bonus content covering shows like Bridgerton, Sweet Magnolias, and Just Like That. We are an all-female group of friends who are passionate for these shows and movies and give our honest opinions as well as gush over what we love so much. But that's not all. Every Monday, there are interviews with all your favorite actors, writers, directors, and more. Check out Hallmarkies Podcast on all your podcast providers and on YouTube. That's Hallmarkies Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.
Breaking down the teams you're passionate about. This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Remember, tomorrow we will be out at Tim Daly Mazda Southtown. Hey, guess what I did over the weekend? Well, I guess I should say what my wife did over the weekend is she went down to Tim Daly Mazda Southtown and picked herself up a brand new 90. Lease was up. So she wanted to stay in a 90, so boom, traded the old one in, got the new one, lease is up, now we're on a new lease, and off we go. And by the way,
that was electric, right?
And by the way, payments went down, actually. Wow.
Tell me more.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, you know what? You think that everything's going up and everything's getting crazy? Not necessarily.
So is it electric or is it still gas?
It's the hybrid.
Okay, all right.
So we're right there in the middle.
Right there in the middle.
Yeah,
not a terrible idea considering how much gas is at right now.
Oh, yeah, you posted a nasty, nasty picture this morning.
I was very angry this morning.
I could tell.
The last time I had filled it, it was under $4. It was under $4, which it was already high, and yes, it was like $4.47 for the good old number 88.
You put 80. You didn't go to.
I didn't even
85?
go to the cheap. No, I have to go with the 88. Yeah, I've got to go at least the 88.
Okay, you can tell a difference if you don't do it.
Well, I just worry that you don't want anything being messing with the old engine or anything like that. I think there is a difference.
Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah.
Well, good for you, man. That's a hefty price tag.
Yeah, nearly paying $70 in gas is not fun.
No.
In fact, I messaged the wife and I said, yeah, we're going to have to plan out our trips for baseball and all this stuff a little bit. We're going to have to be a little more strategic.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing, too. Like, you got a lot of traveling baseball this summer. This is your hot
we're
season.
We're going to, I'm just talking about places, tournaments that are maybe around this area, like Ogden, out past like Provo.
So you're not even
St.
talking
George,
like Mesquite or Vegas?
No. These are still like not necessarily in the valley. There's some that are, like I said, Ogden, and that's not exactly close. That's still like 45 minutes. That's a little bit of gas right there. Just there.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's like, you know what, we're going to have to be, because there's times where maybe she's able to get the kids, to wherever they need to go, and then maybe I'll meet there. It's like, no, we're going together. We are not separating. We're not driving two cars.
Oh, man.
If that happens, I'm just not going.
I'm just I don't know, man.
$70.
The whole crude oil thing seems like it's a bit of a I don't know. I guess I shouldn't say. I don't know it well enough. It just seems like this thing can get manipulated so easily.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to say it's not going to get cheaper.
No,
it's not getting cheaper right now.
Doesn't seem like it.
It is skyrocketing.
Remember,
and I don't even have a diesel. Everybody that says they have a diesel, they're like, well, try having a diesel. It's like, there's a reason I'm not going with the diesel. I don't want to pay that much.
Yeah. Yeesh. And if you got a diesel, you don't have a 12-gallon tank on a diesel. No, that's a you problem. You need to size down.
You're going to be paying well over $100.
$100 a tank, easy.
Well over.
Easy.
I thought I saw somebody that said it was like $150 or $140, something like that.
Oh, man.
That's insane.
Yeah, that makes me sick to my stomach. All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Mitch Harper on the other side. We'll chat a little BYU with him right here on the Zone.
Every day, the world gets a little weirder and a lot more awesome. Cool Stuff Daily takes a look at everything from mining in space to the latest in the fight against cancer to how AI is, basically changing everything. It's all the cool stuff you didn't know you needed to know. Join us for Cool Stuff Daily as we take a quick look at science, tech, and the wait, what stories that make you sound way smarter at dinner. Subscribe to Cool Stuff Daily now, because the future's happening fast, and it's way too fun to miss.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Just top.